Allow me to tell you something that I think needs to be addressed. The plane crash that got Kobe Bryant killed in early 2020 was no accident. It was a deliberate attempt orchestrated by LeBron James in order to prevent him from starring in the newly released film Space Jam: A New Legacy. Are you in any way fazed by that information? If your answer is no, then you either recognize that I just completely made that up, or you're probably thinking, do I really need to know this? The answer is, you don't. There absolutely is nothing to be gained from hearing information that on the surface sounds so completely untrue and insane. This is a point that I would like to emphasize when discussing an issue that I think needs to be addressed, and that is the alarming spread of conspiracy theories here in the United States. Over the past couple of years, many popular conspiracy theories have been spreading across the country, and very recently they've been creating some big problems, such as the 2020 election voter fraud claims culminating in the January 6th rioting of the Capitol, as well as the conspiracy theories about COVID-19 vaccines creating hesitancy among citizens who are now spreading the Delta variant, which the vaccine cannot directly treat. Conspiracy theories and generally misinformation are a problem that we can all work together to address if we all collectively use our brains to spot misinformation and conspiracy theories and prevent them from spreading. The Royal Society conducted a study among 5 different countries with people who are highly susceptible to misinformation, particularly regarding the coronavirus. Among the countries included in the studies were Ireland, Mexico, Spain, the United Kingdom, and the United States. In one of its findings, they found that the USA was more likely to trust politicians when it came to handling COVID-19, as well as attain information from social media pages about the virus, more than they would the World Health Organization in either case. If we are more trusting of comparisons of the coronavirus to the flu than we are information from the group who helped eliminate smallpox, then we have a major problem on our hands. Allowing such unreliable information to spread like wildfire during a pandemic can have some serious consequences. As I mentioned before, right now, the Delta variant is spreading across many parts of the United States where a majority of its citizens aren't vaccinated. And responses, such as that from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, allowing to ban schools from mandating kids to wear masks, aren't making this better. How we can combat misinformation and conspiracy theories starts on an individual level. The Verge has an online step-by-step guide on how you as an individual can combat misinformation. In summary, you need to A. Identify your initial reaction or thoughts to reading a headline at first. 2. Evaluate what you're reading to see if there are any credible information, such as quotations and studies, to evaluate what they're claiming. 3. Have a deeper understanding of who or what is presenting the information to you to identify whether or not it's being done in good or bad faith. And finally, 4. Connect the dots to identify what sort of message or agenda the person or people who are presenting the information to you are trying to push. In general, you need to be more critical of what you read on the internet, as well as who is presenting it to you and why. Let's put this into practice. Let's say one day I'm scrolling through my online YouTube feed and I come across a video uploaded by Ben Shapiro, an online commentator for the outlet The Daily Wire. In his video, he talks about how fellow commentator Steven Crowder got his YouTube channel completely demonetized because a writer from Vox named Carlos Maza told him to, because Crowder had said some things that he didn't like. Shapiro then goes on to express his disapproval for YouTube's decision by saying that it signals the cracking down of conservative voices online. At first I thought what YouTube did to Crowder was unfair and sets an unfair standard for people in high media positions that gain a monopoly on smaller, disadvantaged creators. What Ben does not mention in his video specifically are the specifics of what went down during the case. So I looked into it, and I was able to identify a completely different version of what went down. That being that YouTube did demonetize Crowder's channel, but it was on the grounds that he had violated several community guidelines on bullying and harassment when he spent years harassing Maza with homophobic and racist remarks, which Mazda himself made a very strong case for by sending an edited compilation of Crowder doing precisely that to YouTube. If I had not approached Ben's claims the way I did, I would have fallen for his trap and ran with his wildly mischaracterized version of the story to aid his agenda of misinformation. In general, you need to be more critical of what you read online in order to identify what is reliable and what's unreliable. In order to work together, we need to individually apply the steps that I mentioned earlier in order to identify one of two outcomes when reading a source. Are they reliable or are they unreliable? If a source uses citations including quotes, studies, and generally reliable information, that's a good indicator that you can trust them. If in doing so, that same source leaves out certain information when presenting it to you, then that's a good chance that you can't trust them. If a source has consistently gotten it right when presenting its information, then that's a good indicator that you can trust them. If a source has gotten it wrong more than once, whether on purpose or not, then that's a good indicator that you should stop trusting them entirely. In general, we need to think more critically about what information we read online and come to our own conclusions about whether or not other people need to see it, in the sense of what it can create when it gets big after starting out small.